Welcome to a brand new episode of the Bull Take Podcast. That's Austin Wader. Wow, I said that's Austin Wader. That's
It
Austin
is.
Hill. I'm Austin Wader. We see this is this first time
Yeah.
we've had this problem with us both being named Austin. This first time this has happened.
Yeah. I actually can't believe that you had the first name blunder we've ever had in the history of the show.
Especially the however many years we've been doing this, it's taken this long for the first name blunder.
Yeah.
I'm impressed actually. I
Yeah.
knew it was going to be me. It was just a matter of when at that point.
That's fair.
But nonetheless, this is an NFL So the Bull Take podcast. If you have not, tune into our college football episode from yesterday. Of course, we talk about Bama, Georgia, and the incredible guy who should be a junior in high school right now, who did really good in that game. I don't know
Yeah.
how old he is. That's something maybe for research for someone else.
Yeah.
But yeah, college football episode. We talked all about the games. We preview. Some people will call a slow slate this week. But we say in that episode, these are the kind of slates where what you don't expect to happen. This is where most of it will go down. So make sure and get that episode listen. And we had 3 total bets of the week there, so you can have some fun tuning in. But this is the NFL episode. But before that, I mentioned at the end of our college football episode, the wild card series in the MLB postseason were wrapped up last night. And my goodness, Austin, that game 5, Pete Alonso made himself a good amount of money, I think, with a 3-run homer in that ninth inning.
Yeah. Look, we know what kind of talent Pete Alonso is. In his since he entered the MLB, he's got more home runs than anybody else in baseball, and that includes Aaron Judge, who's had one 60 home run season and almost another 60 home run season this year. So that tells you what kind of tear Pete Alonso has been on over the course of his career. Um, but look, the Mets have just been a fun baseball team to watch. Controversial take on this podcast. I think it's criminal that Francisco Lindor will not win an NL MVP this year.
That's fair. That's fair. I think that's fair. I mean, he is the heart and soul of that team. Let's just.
Actually playing baseball and not being a DH merchant should win you an MVP. Just saying.
I mean, listen. There's the argument, but people are going to bring up the 50, however many home runs and stolen bases he ended up with officially. I don't
Don't
know.
care.
I don't
Don't
know what
care.
he officially ended with, but that's what people are going to bring up. That's what I'm saying.
Just don't care. I don't care that Shohei Ohtani hit the baseball really well. We knew he was going to do that. Like they're just players that I just think are better. And I mean, we want to talk about his WAR. People want to talk about his WAR. Yeah, he has a heavily inflated WAR because he doesn't play any defense. And why doesn't he play any defense? Because he's not a good defender. That's why he's a DH merchant. Look, I get it. He didn't pitch this year because the UCL thing, and he's not going to pitch this year. But even when he pitches, his WAR is a little bit down to earth. So I really just am overall. Look, I think he's a great player. I think he had a great year. I just don't know how you watch baseball and you go, yeah, the guy that played DH all year is the MVP when Francisco Lindor played so well this season with a destroyed back for like the last 3 months of the season and into the postseason.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that truly is fair. But nonetheless, the Mets got the win in that game. A thrilling finish to that game. They got the win 4-2 over the Brewers. Speaking from a Cardinals fan and a Cubs fan, NL Central, we really appreciate what you did to the Brewers last night, Mets. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm actually glad the way it happened too. They thought they were going to win the game. They brought Devin Williams out to close out the game. And it was really future Cub versus future Cub and Devin Williams versus Pete Alonso. And unfortunately for the Brewers, Pete Alonso comes out on top. Look, it was a great game. I'm happy to see the Brewers lose because I hate them. And the Mets, they're hot right now. It's going to be a tough team to stop this postseason.
Yeah, I mean, they're not the only one. We got a couple other teams that are making candidate for that. But since this NFL show, let's kind of go through this quick. So the American League, of course, we had the 2 upsets in the wild card. Detroit defeating Houston, which I'm sure made several people happy. And then Kansas City taking down Baltimore in 2 very low scoring games. They got to take on the Yankees and the Guardians of the final 4 teams. Speaking of the Guardians and stuff, how about Terry Francona? That news breaking last night of him being the Reds manager. That was kind of shocking news.
Wow, I actually didn't see that. Speaking of
Yeah,
that,
it broke like directly after the Mets Brewers game was over that he's going to be the new manager for the Reds 1 year after retirement from the Guardians. So that's kind of, I thought that'd be interesting.
yeah, that's an interesting move. Um, so that actually makes me happy to hear from Francona. I know health issues, having the up and down health the last couple of years in Cleveland was kind of the big catalyst for his retirement. So it actually is good news to hear that one of the greatest managers in the history of baseball is going to be able to come back and manage a baseball team again.
Yeah, and a baseball team that will probably have a lot of young talent. Obviously, we've seen what some of them have, so it'll be interesting to see what we can do there. But nonetheless, Austin, let's answer the question 1-0. Let's start in the American League. Who comes out on top in the American League out of these final four teams?
Look, I'm very interested to see what happens in this Tigers Guardian series. I'll be honest. I think whoever wins that series wins the AL. The Yankees have basically fallen flat on their face here in the end of the season. And now I think this is really going to be a test for what a lot of people said last year was that there was a huge problem with the new playoff system where the top two seeds have a bye and they said it's too much time to wait. Um, and I kind of get what people are saying, and I think this year's going to be the ultimate test for that. If we see a bunch of top teams just come out flat again and fall apart here in the postseason, then I could see maybe time for a change, and maybe going back to the old one game wild card series. Because you do want to have the break and the bye, but if it's so much time that teams are coming out and just having nothing to do, it's killing baseball. But we'll see here. I just think the Royals are better than the Yankees. I think it'll be Royals versus winner of Guardians Tigers. But I'm going to say the Tigers win the AL and move on to the World Series. This is the hottest team in baseball. This is the best team in baseball right now. Record aside, they're playing good baseball. They're playing the best baseball in the league, and it really doesn't look like there's anybody that's going to slow them down. So I'm gonna stick to the Detroit Tigers, the sixth seed coming through in the AL.
All right. Yeah. See, my thinking here, obviously, I agree with what you're saying. I think that Tigers Guardian series is going to be the decider for me. Um, but to me, I'm going to go a little bit of a different way. I'm going to take the Guardians to come out of there. I'm just a big fan of their pitching staff. I really like their pitching staff. I think
Agreed.
pitching. I mean, Emmanuel. I always pronounce his name wrong, no matter how many times I say it. It's
Clase.
Classe. Some. You see, I even pronounced it wrong there. But he's had a phenomenal year. I always like their pitching staff. It's good. It just comes down to their bats in the postseason, what they can do with that. But I'm with you. I think the winner of that series is going to be the one that's going to represent the AL in the World Series, and that will be my favorite one in the American League. National League, I am looking forward to both division series a lot. They're going to be so much fun. You got the Phillies and the Mets. You got the Dodgers and the Padres, two division rivals going at it. I mean, these are going to be two phenomenal series, Austin. I can't wait to see them go down.
Yeah, this is going to be some good baseball. But coming out of this NL, I like the San Diego Padres here. Look, I think it's really them or the Phillies. I think the Mets are going to give the Phillies a good series, but I think the Phillies have the talent to really get the job done in this series. But the Mets are riding super high right now. But with the Dodgers, again, I think they've obviously the best team in the NL, but kind of just in all of baseball. Look, there's no clear number one team. All teams this year have had their ups and downs. I don't think anybody ended up winning 100 games this year, which is the first time in a while. And to me, that shows how competitive the league is this year. And that's why I'm not super set on the Dodgers here. They've had a lot of moments, ups and downs throughout the season. And look, they're a historically bad postseason team in this recent era. And I just don't see that changing this year. Otani's never played in the playoffs, so it's not like adding Otani makes you a better playoff team. I'm not saying it makes you a worse playoff team, certainly, but he's never been in the playoffs. We don't know will he, be able to step up to the plate and handle business. I like the Padres to win this series, and I relatively again, they're just hot right now. They played really good baseball to close out the regular season, and they've got some momentum now. I think that helps carry them into the World Series.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Padres, it was the easiest pick I'd ever seen. I feel very confident. I'll be rooting for the Mets, of course. It would be fun to see them. But listen, I think they'll beat the Dodgers. Number one, obviously, there's so many factors. Number two, the Dodgers pitching staff, like I say, is so bad with injuries right now. I mean, the amount of injuries, the amount of struggles they've had there, that's going to hurt them, I think, in this series when they face off against Slam Diego. So, yeah, I think it'll be. I'm rooting for a Padres Mets NLCS, but I mean, either way, I think the Padres. I think the Padres are the ones that make it all the way to the World Series there. So, yeah. So we both got the Padres. The question is, Austin, do you have the Padres winning it all, or do you have the red hot Detroit Tigers taking home the title?
As much as I'd like to see the Tigers take home the title, I think when it comes to San Diego, the Padres are going to get the job done. I like the Padres winning this in six and getting their first commissioner's trophy.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Some multiple times they've been to the World Series twice, haven't they? Like just twice total. I think the last time they played the Yankees, how ironic would it be if they end up playing the Yankees and beat them this time? That could be a fun storyline there.
Yeah,
But I'm there with you. I just think I really trust in this Padres team, no matter how much I still don't know how to feel about the throwback jerseys. Um,
yeah.
I still think that they are the best team overall, and they're the most red hot team, and they have almost everything locked up there. I mean, talent wise, pitching, several power hitters, several great defenders. I think they got it all. So yeah, I'll take them to win it as well. So congrats to the Padres on not winning a World Series with us both picking them to win the World Series.
You've been cursed. Sorry, Trevor.
Sorry, we don't do this on purpose most of the time. But now
Yeah.
let's get into the NFL. We spent enough time in the MLB, and we'll start with the big news from the week. Austin Devontae Adams, formerly has not officially, but he said he would prefer a trade to happen from the Las Vegas Raiders. And of course, there's several teams involved. Of course, the Jets are a team that's interested in him. You have the Steelers who tried to make a move for Brandon Ayuk in the offseason, and we know how that went down. Obviously, one that I heard that was kind of surprising, but actually, now that I remember who's on the team, it's not surprising. The New Orleans Saints are one that people are looking at as well. So, what are your thoughts on this whole scenario going down with Devontae Adams? And is there any spot you would prefer to see him?
Look, well, first and foremost, I'm going to say it's about a year too late for Devonte Adams asking for a way out. Not that he's any worse as a player, but he should have done this last year. Look, the only reason he wanted to come to Vegas to begin with was to play with Derek Carr. He didn't come because he loves the nightlife, and such. He wanted to play with a quarterback he spent, most of his time playing with. And so that move away from Derek Carr was such a clear sign that this Raiders team was ready to restart and rebuild. I don't know why they didn't trade him before anyway. I feel like this is kind of a low point to trade Devontae Adams. He's hurt right now. He's playing well when he plays, but he is hurt right now. And I think that takes your offering down. Like they're asking for a second round pick right now. Last year, I think they could have gotten a first round pick for him. But I would really like to see him end up in New Orleans. I think him and Derek Carr have unfinished business. Obviously, like I said, that's the reason he came to Las Vegas. And these guys were really excited to be able to play with each other again. They're two very talented players. And the Saints receiving corps could use the veteran presence of Devontae Adams after finally parting ways with Michael Thomas this offseason. They could use somebody who's a veteran and a trusty, reliable receiver. Not that they've had much trouble offensively this season, but that it certainly couldn't hurt. Otherwise, I'd kind of like to see him end up with the Chargers. I've seen that they're a little bit interested in bringing him in. And now, if this was the beginning of the season and this had happened, I wouldn't have said the Chargers because obviously there's a reason they got rid of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. I keep wanting to say Mike Evans like a buffoon, even though I know that's not right. They're obviously trying. They were trying to, get some draft assets, rebuild, but then they kept Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, and that showed that they were going to try and win some games still. And now this team's come out and been impressive. Quinn Johnson looks a lot better in year two than he did in year one. And so, with seeing that, seeing the performance of Justin Herbert, I definitely think this is a team that would be. I think I've seen that they're interested in bringing in Devontae Adams. How could you not be if you need a wide receiver? And like I said, they certainly could use the help of a wide receiver. But the thing I think will hold the Chargers back is obviously how much draft assets they'd have to spend because they still want to acquire assets. They still want to build through the draft, but they're looking to stay competitive. But I'd really like to see him with the Saints to put this offense even further on the track of being a playoff contender and put him back with Derek Carr because I think they got cheated out of a reunion.
I think that's fair. That's not a bad one. Now, obviously, complete bias here. I hope he ends up a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Yeah.
Complete and utter bias here. And I just can't lie. I want him in a Pittsburgh uniform. After all the stuff that I went through with Brandon Ayuk this summer, we deserve a Devontae Adams. I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
But if I have to say, if it's not somewhere like Pittsburgh, I could see the Saints. I think it's a fun one. But here, I'm going to give you a wild card one, Austin. This one could be,
Okay.
I think, fun. If it doesn't go to the Steelers, I'm thinking of a team, a lot of salary cap, really nothing to lose, quarterback on a rookie deal, taking advantage of early success this season, looking to build on it. I think the Washington Commanders could be a fun one. I think
I
him
like
and
that.
Jane Daniels together, I think could be a lot of fun. And we've already seen what Jane Daniels can do with Terry McLaurin. Now imagine him, Terry McLaurin, and Devontae Adams all together. It would make that offense as if it already wasn't incredible for Washington to start this year. It would make it even better. So I know there's some NFC's fans that might not like that. I just think if he doesn't go to the Steelers, I do want him to end up in the NFC because I don't want to have to face him in the playoffs if he's on an elite team. So that's my thoughts on it. So now my question for you involves the Raiders and how this situation has kind of been handled with Antonio Pierce. Obviously, after they lost to the Panthers, he said players made business decisions. And Devontae Adams really hasn't been back since. He said the organization isn't really talking with him. They know he obviously has the injury, but he came out and flat out said, I really haven't heard much from anybody within the organization. Um, to me, this just feels wrong doing it. There's a right way to kind of go through this process, and then there's just kind of just completely forgetting that he's there. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's in your best interest to, still, check in on the player and, see what's going on, especially with an injury. Um, but I will say I can kind of sympathize with Antonio Pierce's frustrations after the game, saying, some players made business decisions because, I mean, he is right from this perspective. You go out there and you play football. You can't go out there and take it easy in a game that, people are trying to win. I mean, there are people jobs at stake, money at stake. And if you're just going to run out there and, take plays off, I know I saw a corner who some people thought might have been part of the subject of scrutiny, pulled out of a lot of tackles, kind of jogged down the field on some big breakaway plays where he could have been, setting the edge and stopping guys. So, look, I don't think it was directed at any one person in particular. I think it was overall a frustration with a couple of players. But yeah, I don't necessarily agree with kind of ghosting a player who is still under contract on roster, especially, you're still paying this guy. So it's really only hurts you to not figure out what's going on with this guy until you can, get rid of this guy.
I think that's probably as fair as it gets. And like I said, I don't know if he didn't really mean to point it out at Devontae Adams,
Yeah.
but to some people, it came out like that. And that's just some people taking it the wrong way. Same, I think, with Max Crosby, because he didn't play the next game either. And he didn't even play with them, wasn't even on the field, on the sideline with them for that game either. So people wondered that too. But I think he was just straight up like, listen, I came in here at the end of last year and I set a culture of how we're going to play Raider football here, which is smash mouth defense. We're going to run the football right at you. And if you're not in on that, then I don't want you here. Pretty simple there. But yeah, that's the thoughts on the Devontae Adams trade. Who knows? Maybe the next episode we do, he's on a new team next week. So we will
Yeah.
look forward to see what that could be. Let's talk about some games from week 4 of the NFL really quick. And we'll start, Austin, with your Chicago Bears getting the win over the LA Rams 24-18. Bears now at 500 on the year, 2-2. Obviously, Caleb Williams went out, not nearly as many pass yards again, but they were able to go out and get the win and make a kind of a somewhat of a comeback in this game. I know it was kind of a close game the whole time. Then a late touchdown really kind of helped propel them to get the win. But Bears now 2-2. How you feeling?
I feel good. Like I said, I feel like Caleb Williams is getting better and better every week. He's passing the ball better under pressure every week. And he's getting the ball out quicker every week. And that goes to show that kind of the talent that you expect in a number one pick. Look, he doesn't have the best offensive line, but week to week, he's adjusting making bigger and bigger plays in the moment. And he made two of the best throws in the NFL last week. The throw over the middle to Cole Kmet that sailed right over the linebacker's head and got the Bears an easy first down. And then kind of almost a similar throw to DJ Moore in the back of the end zone for that touchdown pass, zipped it right over the safety's head, right into DJ Moore's chest, right before he hits that back of that end zone. Really, that's kind of the arm talent that we expected out of Caleb Williams, and it feels really good to see him putting it all together. I know a lot of people are coming out and saying, "Oh, the Bears, typical Bears, made the wrong pick at number one." No, 2 years in a row that the number two pick should have gone number one. And I'm not willing to go that far. He's won a lot more games than Bryce Young thus far into his career. He's played a lot better than Bryce Young this far in his career. And look, he's not putting up the big flashy numbers that Jaden Daniels is, but he's winning games, and he's getting better and better every week, and he's making consistent plays. Look, I'm not interested in getting into a comparison and a debate this early in the season about who the better quarterback is. And look, I wouldn't really be getting that interested in that conversation between CJ Stroud and Bryce Young had it not been for how well CJ Stroud played last year and how bad the Panthers were last year. But I don't think there's that level of difference between the Bears and the Commanders. Obviously, I think it's just one game in the standings, 3-1 to 2-2. And then otherwise, the guys are playing well and doing what they need for their teams to win. So I like where the Bears are sitting right now with Caleb Williams. I think they're getting better and better. The defense is playing really, really well. Just ready to see some improvements on this offensive line still.
Yeah, that is the story of you and my team as well. But yeah, I'm happy to see the Bears get the win there, get to 2-2. Another game, obviously, we talked about Saints Falcons last week, but we're going to talk more about the Falcons in a second after what went down on Thursday Night Football last night. But real quickly, let's add Steelers, Colts. Colts and the Steelers 3-0 start to the season, beat them 27-24. And listen, I could just flat out come out and say that once Joe Flacco came in, I knew we were screwed. But that's a cop out. I thought Joe Flacco. Listen, he is the elite Joe Flacco. Don't forget,
Yep.
but but I still expected the Steelers to be able to come out on top. And the problem was the turnovers and the offensive mistakes that we had talked about that Justin Fields, and not just him, the entire offense had done so well of through the first 3 weeks happen. You had George Pickens fumble in the red zone trying to make more out of a play that occurred. You had Justin Fields trying to make too big of a play when they're in field goal range. And then the thing that made it worse was the defense wasn't able to back them up late in the game to let them get back into it. They let them go right down the field, score, get points each time. And that was the bread and butter that won Steelers games in the past. It's like, well, we may suck offensively, but our defense is going to give us a chance. And really, they kind of struggled late. You still had a chance, but just one bad snap ended up being the undoing. And listen, I know I can be harsh. I was a bit harsh on Justin Fields for the mistake, but listen, this is what we talked about with mistake-free football. This is what it takes in this Steeler offense. And also in a guy who year 4 in the NFL. Look, I know he made a lot of good plays. I know he was phenomenal passing the football this week. But that's a play simple to me. That's a fourth-year guy. Okay, we're in field goal range. I'm not going to try to do anything too dumb here. let's just throw it away. Let's try to get more points on the board and get back in this game. So, but your thoughts on it, because obviously you had the perspective of being a Justin Fields fan for many, many years.
Well, look, I think the biggest thing in Justin Fields and why he operates that way is he's so used to having this miserable offensive line that was how Justin Fields had to operate. He had to just take off and try and find ways to make a play to survive. But you're right, this Steelers team is much better, and he's playing a lot better in this Steelers offense. And in that situation, like you said, he's a fourth year guy. He's got to know better. Look, there's a time to make the big play and try and force yourself up the field, and there's a time to throw the football away in field goal range and stay there. And so, look, I love Justin Fields, but that particular play, I'm with you. That was a mistake that needs to be adjusted. But it's the first big mistake Justin Fields has made thus far with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I don't think you have too much to worry about there. And as far as the Colts are concerned, look, there's just something about Flacco. I can't put my finger on it, but there's just something about Flacco.
I can't quite put my finger on it, but there's
Yeah,
something about this
there's
guy,
something about this guy. There's something different about Flacco. I like Lamar, but there's just something different about Flacco. Look, the guy continues to amaze. It was an impressive performance coming off the bench, and look, he was such class in his post game interview. Nothing but praises for Anthony Richardson, who has been kind of up and down the season, and he was hurt. So really, just a class act for Joe Flacco. Look, he's out there to be the backup. He's out there to be the supporter, and he knows that he's not here to steal the job. He's just here to help this team when they get in a tough situation. And so I really I've liked Joe Flacco for a while, but just the way he kind of carries himself is something that's super commendable. But the Colts, man, there's something there with this team. They could be something special if Anthony Richardson can start to put it together, start to stay healthy, and start to, stop turning the ball over so much. If he can start making some big plays and get those turnovers down, this Colts team is going to be a tough team to stop this season.
Yeah, they really will be. But again, the thing to keep on talking about is injuries. I mean, injuries have been the story of his career so far about just getting the injuries and having to miss a lot of time. He's questionable this week when they play in Jacksonville. But yeah, injuries just have been the story of his short term in the NFL. He's just got to try to stay healthier and don't make all the big plays. Similar to what we talked about with the other quarterbacks is knowing to live to fight another down, live to fight another down. I know you want to run for that first down. I know you want to dive for it, but just slide down, move on to the next play. Pretty simple there. We'll talk about two of the main games from this past Sunday and Monday. And the first one, the Ravens dominating the Bills 35-10 on Sunday Night Football. And me and you both said in this game that we both felt this was the Ravens win happening. We felt the Bills were starting off great at 3-0, but sometimes things after that just sometimes fall apart. And in the end, what fell apart for them that night was they could not stop Derrick Henry to save their lives in that game.
Yeah, this game basically played out exactly how we thought it was going to. The Ravens have had a lot of urgency. I won't say a little bit, had a lot of urgency to get a win, get back on track, start playing their brand of football. They figured out how to use Derrick Henry in this offense. And then the Bills came out and look, they were 3-0. They were, playing against a 1-2 team. The mindset was probably, hey, we're going to win this game. We've had a good start to the season. They came out a little bit slow, and they got punched in the mouth. This is pretty much exactly what we thought was going to happen. I was really impressed with how well Derrick Henry's played. I'm glad to see this offense is really starting to click and figure out how to incorporate Derrick Henry while still not taking away from everything else that this offense has to offer. Really impressive performance for the Baltimore Ravens. And for the Bills, look, you just got to come out and be strong next week. There were some positives in this game. Josh Allen still put up a big fight, but they got to get back to the drawing boards and remember who they are and get back to playing their kind of football with that same sense of urgency. Every week you're 0-0 should be the mindset you have.
I think absolutely there. And I know you're excited for Derrick Henry to do good. And I'm kind of excited. I don't know how to feel about by the time he plays the Steelers, they will have
Yeah.
this down in the system how they want to use him. I'm really not looking forward to that. I'm really, really not looking forward to that. That's not going to be fun.
Yeah, that's
But
gonna be rough.
yeah, but next up, the Monday Night Football. I'm calling it a one game. It was not a doubleheader. Don't even try to act like it was a doubleheader.
No.
Lions and Seahawks. Lions get the win 42-29, and we both talked about Seattle 3-0 winner in this game. What could they do here? And the offense was clicking. Everything was going well for them. But the problem is their defense, which had been so reliable for them so far throughout this year, just couldn't stop the Lions pass game. Jared Goff, perfect on the night. Couldn't make the tackles in open space. David Montgomery, of course, having a big run or two in that game. You had Jamison Williams scoring that long touchdown where he started celebrating from the 30-yard line. So, I mean, a lot of points here. So for Seattle, the offense went out and did good. Geno did good, I think. But it was just the defense for the first time this year we saw have struggles through 3 weeks.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing for that was that they hadn't seen an offense of this caliber at this through this point in the season. But look, like you said, the offense played pretty well. It just comes down to defense, making adjustments from this game. They played a team that was better than them. They played the best offense they've seen all year, and they came out flat. It's time to go learn from that, and wake up. Kind of in the same sense as the Bills. Look, you started out good early. But now you've got to wake up and keep playing hard football, keep playing tough football. You can't start to settle and think you're just going to walk away with every game.
Absolutely. But yeah, Lions get the win. They bounce. They move to 3-1, Seattle 3-1. But that's from last week. There were a couple other games, but those were the main ones because I want to talk about what happened last night, Austin, and what I think is safe to say is the game of the year in the NFL so far this season. Falcons Buccaneers on Thursday night, Atlanta, a 36-30 win in overtime. And can I just say before we go in more detail, I could not imagine being a Falcons fan right now. The stress levels that this team has given you through 5 weeks is almost 2 seasons worth of stress through these first 5 weeks for them. But nonetheless, Kirk Cousins was incredible. 500 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, got him in the field goal range way to be able to force overtime. And then, of course, scoring that walk-off touchdown. But look, both offenses were incredible. The difference, though, you saw some late. Tampa Bay just couldn't finish this game, couldn't put it away. There was also a questionable face mask or two that was missed for Tampa Bay there. I know some people have mentioned that. And also, if they really got that spike off with 1 second, because the ref did not spot the football. So, but nonetheless, it was a phenomenal game. Your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it was a really great game. I didn't watch too much of this game because it was on Amazon Prime, and my Amazon Prime wasn't working super duper well. But this was a great game. I think this was a big game to kind of reinstill some confidence in Falcons fans and Kirk Cousins. I don't think he's had a bad year up to this point, but he went out and had easily his best game of the season, and you saw him get pieces involved. Drake London had a really good game. Darnell Mooney really shined in this game. So this was a great game for your offense against another team that's going to be competing in your division and, competing for a playoff spot to go out and show that, hey, we've still got it, and we're going to go out here and get the job done. So I was really impressed with Atlanta. And look, like you said, Tampa Bay just couldn't get it done down the stretch, but they still had a phenomenal, phenomenal performance in this one.
Yeah, everyone got involved. Mike Evans got involved. Several players did. It was a great game overall. But now let's move into some Sunday action. And we got a couple of good games going on this Sunday in the NFL. We're going to have about 3 or 4 game picks here. And we're going to start first off with the 8:30 game in London. It's the Jets and the Vikings. First international game in London this year of many. Of course, we'll know Jacksonville will play there as they always do as their secondary home. But Minnesota, look, 4-0. Sam Darnold looks incredible. Everything's going well. You got a Jets team that's coming off a 10-9 loss to the Broncos, a team that only had Bo Nix finish with 60 yards passing. What are you thinking about this game?
Man, I really think that when it comes down to this game, I just have not been impressed with the Jets thus far this season. I still feel like they have a lot to figure out. And that comes with they weren't able to figure it out last year because Aaron Rodgers got hurt so quickly. So look, he's back in playing. This team's still trying to figure it out. The Vikings are playing unbelievable football. I don't think a team like the Jets is going to be the first team to stop them. I like the Vikings in this game a lot.
Yeah, of course, I picked against the Vikings last week when they were going to Green Bay, and I'm going to pick against them again here. I'm going to go with the Jets.
Wow.
Listen, I promise I'm not trying to be a Vikings hater. I'm not trying to be. But listen, I just think this Jets defense, still as incredible as it is, can slow down this offense at least somewhat to a point. I'm expecting this to be a low scoring affair. Yeah, but I'll take the Jets to win this one. Next one at 12 at noon, the big game from the noon window. The 3-1 Bills heading down to Houston to take on the 3-1 Texans. Austin, it's the Stephon Diggs game. He's going to get to play the Buffalo Bills down in Houston. It is a great matchup. Two teams looking to contend in that AFC and become one of the new contenders and new teams trying to rise above the Chiefs. What are you seeing here in this matchup of 3-1 teams?
Man, this is a great matchup, but I think the Texans are a better team. I think that they're going to get the job done. I think their defense is better. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. More injuries and suspensions on the Buffalo Bills defense is only going to slow them down more. And with the full health dominant defense of the Houston Texans, I think they're going to get the job done in this game.
And of course, Von Miller being out for the next 4 games. That was a big deal that was announced. Like you mentioned, several injuries. I'm going to take the Texans in this one with you, but I'm very hesitant on it. I'm very, very hesitant on it. I really think the Bills could go out and Josh Allen could be incredible, but I'm going to go with the Texans, not with a ton of confidence, though.
Fair enough.
But as far as the rest of the main afternoon games, there's really nothing too severe. Let's move to Sunday Night Football and two historic teams playing head to head on Sunday Night Football. You got the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Look, this is a Dallas team suffered so many injuries. Micah Parsons officially announced out for this Steelers game. DeMarcus Lawrence is on IR. Several other quick. Brandon Cooks is out for this game. They're taking on a Steelers team that's looking to get a bounce back win after they suffered their first loss. It seems like things are setting up for the Steelers to take this game, which is why it terrifies me. But what are you seeing happening here?
Yeah, I've just been downright unimpressed with the Dallas Cowboys. Their offense hasn't played super well this season. Barely avoided a loss to the New York Giants, who did not score a single offensive touchdown in that matchup last week. So I like the Steelers in this game. Again, they've got the best defense in football. And for an offense that already wasn't clicking, to add injuries and not have everybody there, I think hurts this team. And their best asset, their defensive line, is missing its two best players. I really don't know how the Steelers don't run up the score in this one.
You need to stop. I don't like that. Listen, I'm gonna pick the Steelers to win. Complete bias, like as always. Um, but I'm absolutely terrified of this game because every single time we have played the Cowboys, it's always a close game no matter what. I still think back to that 2020 game in Dallas where they were absolutely terrible. We were undefeated and they really outplayed us and should have beat us in that game. Uh, Never forget Andy Dalton was starting at quarterback for the Cowboys that game. I'm going to hope the Steelers get the win here and get the 4-1 because, like I've said, with the way the second half of the schedule sets up for the Steelers, they need to win as many games as possible early in the season so they can afford a loss or two down the stretch in the second half of the season. And then Monday Night Football, you got the New Orleans Saints and the Kansas City Chiefs facing off in Arrowhead. Saints, two straight losses, looking to bounce back and figure things out offensively. Chiefs 4-0, but this is the first game without Rashee Rice, Isaiah Pacheco, multiple guys injured. Question is, will Xavier Worthy step up? Will we see Travis Kelce step up even more after, especially like he did with that Chargers game? But these are two fun offenses, at least what we've seen so far. What do you got going down on Monday night?
Man, I think the offenses are going to have fun. They're going to put on a show in this game. But I think it comes down to which defense is better. These are actually two really great playing defenses this season, but Patrick Mahomes has made a lot of mistakes. I think this Saints defense is a defense that's not going to let him get away with making as many mistakes as he's made, and I think that they're going to help this team get away with it. And I got New Orleans winning this game, taking it very close, but getting a stop right at the end of this game to win it.
Okay. Um, if this was in New Orleans, I would do it. I just until I see otherwise, I'm not going to bet against the Chiefs at Arrowhead. It's tough for me to do. I know the injuries happen and that everything seems like it's going to be a struggle for that Chiefs offense, but I don't know. Something tells me I think they're going to be ready to go and they're going to win this game. It might be ugly, but I think they could end up winning this game. That is it for our picks this week, and of course, our final segment here, the bet of the week. Austin, I don't remember what was your bet of the week. I already completely forgot from last week.
I also completely forgot off the top of my head. Let me see if I. Oh, it was Caleb Williams over like 325 yards or something, which he did not get.
Yeah, and of course my Tampa money line one did hit on that, and they covered. That was one I felt was just an easy one. I tried giving you Steelers under with it, and for the first time this year, the Steelers under has failed me.
Oh, so
I don't even know how that's possible. I mean, I guess anything truly is possible there. But nonetheless, both looking for a bit of a bounce back week with our bet of the weeks. Austin, what you got here for your bet of the week for week 5 of the NFL season?
I'm gonna go with a homer pick here again this week. I'm gonna go with Bears +4 against the Panthers, or -4 against the Panthers. They're a better team than the Panthers. I'd be surprised if this was a close game. The Panthers have just been not so hot this season. I think the Bears are going to absolutely run away with this game, and I think we might actually see Caleb Williams really lock in and play his best game of his career so far.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Bears have won 7 straight games at home, so that's not a bad trend to kind of go with there. For mine, there's a couple I went with, but I kind of wanted to go with a unique one that maybe you wouldn't see coming. Obviously, Steelers under, you can roll with that any week. I know they lost last week, but you're 3-1 on the year if you take Steelers unders. So go with it. My bet, I am going to take a bit of a shock here. I'm going to take Jacksonville -3 against the Indianapolis Colts. The big thing to
Wow.
me is the Colts. I don't know what it is. They're like last 10 trips to Jacksonville have been disasters. They can't win down there in Jacksonville. And I know the Jaguars are 0-4, but questions about will Anthony Richardson play? I'm going to take the Jags until I see the Colts go into Jacksonville and win a game or two, which I still have yet to really see this year, or not this year, in recent years. I'm going to take Jaguars -3. I think that could be a fun one. Not many people would see coming as our bets of the week, but those are our picks. And really, there ain't nothing else for us to say. That's going to be it for this NFL episode of the Bull Take Podcast. If you haven't, go listen to the college football one. Get ready for this week. Enjoy some great games. And of course, like we talked about NFL happening, some great games as well this weekend. And we talked MLB postseason. But all 4 division series get started on Saturday. Austin, we're in that slate where no matter what, every single day, we're having a big matchup of some kind going on across all these sports, and it's the perfect time of year.
Absolutely. It is the most wonderful time of the year. I think that's what the song's about.
Yep, can't I don't know what else it could be thinking of. You got me. You
Me
got
either.
me. But that's going to be it for this episode of the Bull Take Podcast. Like I said, go watch that college football episode. That's Austin Hill. I'm Austin Waiter. We want to thank you for watching.